Welcome. Namaste, mighty companions in joy, siblings in light. God's will for us is perfect happiness. So let us listen in joy to what Devavan's prepared today.
Welcome everyone. Thank you so much, Karen. Well, it might be maybe a little shorter today since we already said everyone is still busy with tax and death, death and taxes. It comes from the movie. And yet it is like when our mind is going out into the fulfillment of that, how it seems it is pressing in and wants to be get attention, that exactly then in these moments we need the remembrance of where we recuperate and where our real serenity and relaxation in the mind comes from. And that is the light and love of God. And of course, that love that we share is always re-experiencing and a newly offering what we know from mind resurrecting, from that experience of our awakening. And so when we are coming from resurrecting experience, then of course also our mind is set for a fresh new start and new beginning. And so what we really learn with communicating in his mind is to let that be every moment anew and fresh, and no longer hold on to the past. And that means not holding on to information that has been accumulated in the past, in the mind, and especially in our relationships, in our coming together, in the idea of giving and doing it the best. We want to apply now this coming anew and afresh from that true source. And that is really what we will hear the master teacher teaching to me, to you, to all of us, by using the idea of stem cells. The video we're gonna share will have the title "We Meet in a Hologram of Love." And already that idea, what is a hologram of love, what does that mean? Indicates that there is many pictures and many perceptual impressions or ideas in the mind. But where we truly meet, and that is then the subtitle that is called that the stem cell research in the resurrection of the body. So where we are truly coming from is from that resurrecting experience of course, first of that where identification was experienced, that is in the believed to be in the body. Now we know that there's nothing going on in the body and everything is in the mind, and the body is just an idea in the mind. So the resurrecting experience is indeed only in the mind. And so he uses some terms in that part of the clip that we're going to share, of that section, that goes quite into science ideas of how that reflects on the level where it is dealt with matter and energy. And he uses like terms like information storage capacity, which everybody who has something to do with hardware and chips of electronics knows about. And that information storage capacity we can translate is indeed our mind in that experiencing resurrection of past ideas into a present light. And of course, there are certain ideas that have limited us to experience it in the entirety, where we would immediately disappear with all a perceived world. So that information storage capacity was held into ideas of capacity of what is valuable to store and what information is valuable to keep and continue to share. And in that sense, not really understanding what lesson number 1 of the Course in Miracles teaches us, that nothing I see means anything. And I see only the past, and the past is always over and gone. So indeed, I see nothing as it is now. And those are true statements, which we make to our experience and have. And now in the resurrecting mind, we do remember that. So that gives us the possibility and capacity to no longer hold on to storage information that we were accumulating as valuable and holding in our minds. So he also makes the expression that this holographic space-time, that everywhere in space-time it is holographic. That means every single image and thought I place on this space-time, in my space-time continuum, is indeed with the entire power of light, and is offering me that, so that I can indeed, with every relationship, with every image of the relationship, access the truth and literally wake up from my old meaning I've given to it, to a completely new, that would be the holy relationship, to a new recognition of a reflection of holiness within my own mind. And he calls it even that this holographic space-time is actually a being in a cellular relationship with space. Space has the advantage that we can really let it be completely infinite, no limitations, no borders, extending timelessly and giving to itself without any boundaries and without any end and no beginning. And so he makes the declaration, hey, look, the world is a hologram, what you see. And from this science of what they found out also on the level of this information storage capacity, there's a word used also scientifically that we might use it also by teaching A Course in Miracles. It's the word is entropy, and that entropy, that maximum entropy or information content, the mind has information content. The question is only what information content is getting priority and is really put on to give attention to. Is it ideas of the past, or is it information content of God's mind, of the light itself, of the one singular thought? And that is what we truly choose every moment by living the resurrection moment by moment. And it is there expressed in a discovery, in a scientific discovery, that this maximum entropy or information content of any region of space, so I can translate it, of any region in my mind, is defined not by its volume, not by how I accumulate it in the single fragments of the meaning I've given to it, but by its surface area. So that's a completely different perspective. What might the surface area mean translated into the Course in Miracles? Well, we might share that afterwards when we open the microphone, and quite interesting ideas might come into our mind. But it's not an accumulation of thought forms. Maybe the surface area is the shining light in every thought, or that envelops everything. And therefore, that's really what information content makes up. So maybe I gave this introduction that we, in the whole relaxation, how we experience the master teacher's mind and how he teaches it and how we relax ourselves and let our minds heal, that we also just don't immediately approach it when he gets in an expression of scientific vernacular, but really see that everything can be translated into what the Course in Miracles teaches us of waking up from the dream and whole mind. And so just play around with that when you follow him and listen to him, and see what happens also in your own mind and how understanding is given you by the Holy Spirit, still using these scientific terms, but really developing a completely new perspective and understanding in your own mind. Because truth is still, we are rewriting this Course in Miracles right now and every moment anew. And it's not a fixed scripture, it's not an information content that is fixed. It is the Holy Spirit teaching us and talking through his voice to our one mind constantly, and it is a constant extension of that light frequency that we know ourselves to be. So having said that, I'm gonna get ready to get that video in for us, and let's see what comes then up in our sharing.
I had an agreement when I left this last factoring of time that the progress that we had been making in the converting agency of the direction that you had been given by the idea of stem cell in the factor of our memory, with a basic admission that we were utilizing ideas about the figuration of our body identity in ideas concerning stories that were telling us about each other in the regeneration of the body form that I am demonstrating to you right now. We suddenly had to take a look at the complete and necessary idea that it would be impossible to hold within your idea concerning yourself about the nature of the consciousness identity of you within your DNA, and not consider, and I'm going to use a particular word here because it's a word that will be virtually immediately very understandable to you. I'm going to have you say it with me, okay? Say to me, holographic universe.
Holographic universe.
Did you see this? Yeah. Here's where we've gone from stem cells, okay, to the idea of information in a holographic universe. And I'm going to read to you, with your permission, because of the energy idea that you are generating within the consciousness of your idea about yourself. The simple admission, and while this seems simple, I want you to examine it with me in the truest sense, in the idea that the power of decision, in the reflection of our light, are demonstrating what appear to be distances in location of space. No, say to me, everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that.
Do they really? Do they really actually entertain a very fundamental idea that in the association of your consciousness in regard to self-recognition that you will be and cannot not be in an occupancy of space? Thank you holographically for the idea that you're in a occupancy of your body. And while you are obviously in a pursuit of a solution contained within the reflection of the power of light of the universe that you just demonstrated to me, because of the new treatment in the conversion of your own cellular responsive body, you are beginning to recognize in this little field of space energy, light and energy, a more particular correspondence with what appears to be another body form who is in his cellular relationship, say to me, space, with his space. Now, I'm going to read you very quickly just a little bit about the holographic universe and the fundamental possibility that if you let me deal with the mass conversion of energy within your own mind, look with me, I can show you on my reappearance and your subsequent recognition of me in a different place in time, with a fundamental admission that your space-time is changing all the time. We must present ourselves with that, or we're not going to get very far, are we? When I sat down here with you, I love to teach the idea, you can hear this, in quantum. When I walked into this space-time location, without regard to where it is, I obviously brought myself. And I obviously, at that time, was reflecting outside of myself what I thought were the procedures of my consciousness, identity of myself, where I gave a particular reference to you, who also appeared to be in his own space-time identity. Now, I'm going to move into the idea of the power of the love that I'm feeling for you right now with my mind, that is being transcribed in new definitions of ideas or stories about ourselves that then become a storyline that I am presenting to this little continuum of time about not only the physical body reassociation of the Savior, I'm using Jesus particular, you can hear this, but the space that he's in. Could you hear that? In other words, what would be the sense in me offering you, okay, in the idea of this 80-year-old guy? We talked a lot about that, obviously. You looking at me now, many of you are saying there's no possibility that you are in occupancy of an 80-year-old body. Did you see that with me? On the last stem cell video, we talked about the idea of the acknowledgement that it's actually not in the DNA, the cells of your body that are important. I'm going to have you say this to me. Will you say to me the distance between them?
The distance between them.
Did you say that to me? Are you teaching fundamentally the idea that the aggregation of the memories I hold about this body form are really undergoing constant and continuing changes in the illusion that I feel about myself? And that inevitably, since I am the directing activity of my consciousness, it will have to be, at least for that moment, in the space in which I find myself. Come on now. The whole fundamental principle of Homo sapien is he believes he is limited by his perspective of a relationship of space-time with where he finds himself. The first thing he deals with in his DNA is the idea that he has memories of being a human body within his mind that are momentarily restricted by the notion of the memory factor that's contained within his own DNA, that for that moment forgot that it couldn't possibly have located itself anywhere in space-time, are you listening, that did not include the entirety of the idea of a recellular association. Say to me, based on consciousness of energy.
Based on consciousness of energy.
I'm going to read you just a little bit. Would that be all right? Listen just a little bit about the idea that we're going to be looking at this holographic universe. Thank you. What we opened up was the possibility that you would like to know about the totality of a relationship of light out in the universe that is continually reflecting back to you a hologram of ideas of the storytelling that are contained in the moment in which we entered into this fabric of space-time. Here I am. I've come into it now with you. You listening? I got a great story to tell you in the explanation of where you're finding yourself in that body form, with positively no regard for your cellular maturity, by which you identify the hydrogen and the carbon and the oxygen in you, except in the totality of an increase in frequency of the location in which you find yourself in space. Listen. This is about information of you in the holographic universe. Theoretical results about black holes suggest that the universe could be like a gigantic hologram. Imagine that. Now, if we ask anybody what the physical world is made of, you're likely to be told that it's matter and energy. Now, the information storage capacity of devices such as hard disk drives has been increasing by leaps and bounds. When will such progress halt? What is the ultimate information capacity of a device that weighs, say, less than a gram and can fit inside a cubic centimeter, roughly the size of a computer chip? How much information does it take to describe a whole universe? Look, could that description fit in the computer's memory? Could we perhaps, as the great William Blake pens, see the world in a grain of sand? Or is that idea no more than a poetic license, since your own self-realization is a beautiful description of a poetic license? Here it is, an astonishing theory called the holographic principle holds that the universe is like a hologram, just as a trick of light allows a fully three-dimensional image to be recorded onto a flat piece of film. Our seemingly three-dimensional universe could be completely equivalent to alternative quantum fields and physical laws painted on a distant, vast surface. I love it. The physics of black holes, immensely dense concentrations of mass, provides a hint that the principle might be true, because studies of black holes show that although it defies common sense, the maximum entropy or information content of any region of space is defined not by its volume, but by its surface area. Did you hear what I just said to you? You want to be reasonable with me for a moment? I'm not trying to take your idea of consciousness away from you in regard to what you think you are. What I'm trying to do to you now, individually, in the idea that you have about yourself, is to increase a frequency of light energy in the admission that the conversion of the organization of us in this holographic demonstration of the possibility of the complete conversion of our body form. Remain with us at this time. Practice. The universe is mind.
The universe is mind.
Did you say that to me?
Yeah.
Look, if that's true, it would be very possible for you to symbolize within your own idea of yourself, of God, as a hologram. Now, here's the difficulty that will arise if we're going to admit to a single source of reality. Okay, I'm going to teach just for a minute. The power that you have in your mind to decide outcomes have already been established in the sequence of your idea of your location of space-time. There's no sense in opening that up to anything but the fundamental admission that as a species, Homo sapien, you are very much aware that you are in occupancy of a space that defines consciously how you feel about yourself. Look with me. And that you live within a sequence of time that defines a beginning and an end. It begins here and it ends here. And that is an occupancy. Now say to me, space.
Space.
It's an occupancy of space, but look at the dilemma you have. The occupancy of the idea of the DNA of your body formulation is already defining within itself the very simple idea that it is conscious of a memory of itself in what appears to be a space-time episode. I watched with a great deal of joy the quantum idea in your relationship of holographic universes. Look with me about your capacity using the power of your mind in what appears to be a light-body association to travel out into the universe. Shall I tell you how it works? Shall I use another crucial word in the idea of hologram? Say to me, idea.
Idea.
Now, obviously contained within you in an idea of your DNA is an idea. Very simply because DNA itself contains in it a factor of resolution in an individual location in space-time that causes a very rapid repetition of itself in order to maintain identities of correspondence of reflected light that verify itself. The obvious difficulty that arises in the condition of your human idea about yourself is this. It's impossible that you do not have already acknowledged by you a perfect memory of before you came into this sequence of time and after you left. Here, in the progress we're making now in the energetic conversion of our body formulation that I'm performing for you right now. Thank you very much for that. What a surprise. It isn't so much that you saw me in a new picture of my body form in reflection within the hologram. You won't repeat, but you saw at that moment, say to me, a whole new vision of myself.
A whole new vision of myself.
Did I hear you say that?
Yeah.
Are you saying to me in what's going on in this STEM research that we're performing at the University of Wisconsin and also out in Stanford? Oh, did I forget Edinburgh? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. No, the old man. My energy faculty of the conversion of the illumination of my mind occurred within the last 7 generations in Edinburgh. I have cellular memories, as you do, regardless of where you locate yourself, of being in body formulation. See if you can hear this. It's a little too mystical for you. Good. I'm teaching holographic conversion in the love that I'm expressing for you without particularly getting into the idea of reincarnation. I'm not concerned about the multiple body identities which we previously identified yourself in Edinburgh. I am concerned that contained within the fabric of the DNA memory of you in an increased frequency of possibility is the fundamental idea of the joy and the happiness that we found together, okay, within relationships of time that can be defined by the human condition as simply a need to journey back to a holy place, or in your memories, this is going to Mecca. This is the whole idea that before I pass into oblivion, I must make my journey to Jerusalem. Oh, I thought you said Mecca. Oh, I thought you said Edinburgh. What did you say? I said Edinburgh. I don't need to go back to Jerusalem. Why? I have a perfect picture. Come on now, I'm looking at my own heritage of my ancestors, my great-great-grandpa living in Edinburgh, just as you have within your mind good memories of how you're going to see yourself in this relationship of time. And in the idea that holographically it will be possible for you at any moment to make a simple admission of the necessity for the admission of the responsibility that you feel within your own relationship about yourself, that you can't escape. You practice a little bit with me now. I'm going to express to you how much I actually value you in your determination to keep re-examining the idea of stem cell. I tell you why. In the hologram, the energy is contained not only in the factoring of space-time, you see that in memory. Now, say to me, but in ideas.
But in the ideas.
Thank you. The idea about the invention of an automobile, or in fact anything else within your stem cell idea of anybody who is participating in the invention, this is particularly true in stem cells. As we read in the hologram, we are able to encompass them, containing the whole of the idea within this little chip of memory. Now, the solution that it affords us in the idea that I'm attempting to represent to you in my reappearance within this frame, say to me, I brought a stem cell with me.
I brought a stem cell with me.
I simply brought a stem cell with me, I think some of you heard that, from outside of Spain, that I now have inserted into my mind in the entrance into this frame that's going to reflect an increase in frequencies of memories, say to me, that are already in me.
They're already in me.
All I'm actually doing and offering you in the conversion and regeneration of your stem cell is my certainty that the visionary idea of how I'm feeling about you will always somewhere in space-time, and since this is a very, very good time to take a look at it, very simply because you're feeling the conflict of DNA. You're finally looking at yourself in the idea that the conflict being expressed in the hologram is the entirety of your containment of yourself. You see? This will be the completion of the idea right here, and this is what we're going to practice now, in the idea that when I came into this frequency, I sat down here with you, you looked at me in a memory, I looked at you in a memory, in a hologram, and just for a moment, we released our individual necessity to keep the conflict in our DNA. The moment that we did that, a brand new light came into our mind. What did it do? It changed our memories of how we were looking at ourselves. Not so much the memories of the specific observation of ourselves, but more in the power of the light to decide the ultimate resolution to the conflict that you are now looking at directly, where you began to share with me the idea that this would be considered to be what life is. In the conflict with your DNA, the whole idea, let's use death for a minute, the whole idea of death or loss of yourself is nothing but a body idea of the use of your memory, of the constriction of yourself, where you're hell-bent. Say to me, I'm hell-bent on dying. Say it.
Hell-bent on dying.
Let me see you do it. I got you. Because suddenly around you, you're seeing other ghosts or phantoms are figuring. Some of them you apparently don't like very well. Shall I tell you why? You don't like ideas about yourself very well. I'm going to come back. Here's what I'll do. I'll leave you for a moment. I'll come back and offer you in the reappearance of Jesus. This is the resurrection of Jesus now. That you may suddenly be walking around here and get a whole new vision of yourself. Because God is going with us wherever we go. Because God is the mind with which we're thinking. God, bless us. Bless you. Each and every one.
Oh, thank you, Master Teacher, for this was fun. It finished up with your hell-bent of dying here, trying to prove it that it would be possible. Let me see how you do it. He adds on, because nobody will have success with trying to prove to be able to die, and that is part of our resurrecting experience. Okay, well, we just open it up for whatever comes in our mind to share for a moment, or just to share in quietness, however it's given. I'm going to put the link of the video in the chat.
Wow, there was really a lot here, as there always is in a short time, so much information. What was coming to me was how we don't accumulate information, that knowledge is the experience of oneness. And as extensions of the love of God, we extend into infinity with infinite possibilities. And how yesterday's workbook lesson, my part is essential to God's plan for salvation, is really talking about the extension of that light. And it's essential that we receive and extend. And I was also hearing, as it is there, when he was speaking about, no beginning and no end, Melchizedek is the Spirit of God with no beginning and no end, just presence. So thank you.
Beautiful, Karen. Yeah, that's basically what he uses as the idea of the stem cell. Like there would be a whole information, a wholeness information in. And I also noticed with that lesson yesterday and already the day before that those it's completely different expressed, but it is the knowledge of the resurrecting experience. It's actually a description of resurrection without using the word resurrection. And so yeah, thank you. And what was mentioned also, where it was about the holographic universe. And again, he starts out, hey, there's what is in its entirety then known as a universe, as really a one recognition of one mind, oneself, is also represented as a stem cell, how it looks like in in the physical identity, and what that indeed does, because I mean, stem cells are on the physiological level, they are basically cleanup. They belong to the cleanup trope. When something happens, the stem cells go there and clean it up. And but there is that part that we get to know now more and more is the physical healing through stem cells. And that is already used also in the in our medical solutions, so to speak, is that there's an application. You could say it would be an application of a whole thought, and that basically does the healing. And of course, it is still in that sense used on the level of the dream, that there's an injection or several injections of stem cells, and they take care of an arthritic joint, for example, or whatever. But obviously, we want to see it from the perspective where there's really this change of freeing up the memory, the DNA from the past memory. And in that freeing up, the cell becomes basically vibrating in that light, and in that new freedom, it can only change and reflect also that the physical or physiological problem is then not experienced anymore, or is seen how it disappears.
Yeah, I'm hearing that as the releasing of the imprisoned splendor, the releasing of the real.
Yeah.
As we move into the awareness of that imprisoned splendor as the soul, then we can recognize we're walking through a body, perceivingly, yet all that's really there is my peace, our reality. And that's what heals the one mind, the one singular reality.
Yeah, what was believed as solid and as real as a body is really becomes very clear that it isn't there at all, and therefore the idea disappears from the mind, and of course eventually and inevitably the appearance has to disappear too, and that is really the entire message of the resurrection, and demonstrating what is still believed to be here, or is seen or perceived as being here, is just an illusion, and illusion is an illusion and has nothing to do with reality, and therefore is can only disappear from the mind and is seen no more, as he says it in the Course. We will be seen no more as that how we defined ourselves or identified ourselves as personalities and bodies. And of course, we have the knowledge already of being mind and only mind, and that means light of creation. And in that understanding, of course, our coming together, no matter in what form, will always be the maybe unspoken invitation of, hey, let's be together and let's get together to see something entirely different. So entirely different that we cannot see it with our eyes. It is a really seeing an essential difference to what we were accumulating on information through perception throughout all time. And that is what the awakened mind knows to be true.
Yeah, blessed indeed that we can leave here today in the light and the awareness of creation as our being. Blessed indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to share something, or are we concluding with this? Okay, well, thank you so much for being here, and we meet again in a hologram of light and love. Thank you, my dear ones. I have still a song to share.
Love you all. Thank you.